Hey there, welcome to my next shading tutorial. This time it's going to be about the science behind light and shadow. For those who were brave enough already to click on my video after reading the title, don't be scared. I tried to explain it in the most understandable way that is possible for me. Alright, I already prepared this drawing here and I'm going to explain step by step what's about the light and the shadows. So first of all, the light is coming from the side, from the upper left corner. It's not from the front, it's completely from the side. And what I'm going to do now is to explain to you why as we go more and more to the side of the ball it gets darker until we get to the boundary where no direct light is hitting the ball anymore, and this is the darkest area of the ball. I have here a very simple version of our ball and I'm going to hit it with these parallel light rays, maybe it's sunlight, and I also separated the ball surface into several sections, and now we're going to look at how much light is going to hit these sections. If we look at the top, we can see that about more than 3 light rays are hitting this section, so it's quite a lot. However, at the side it's only about 1. And that's why this side here is the darkest, and we get a shading that would look about like this. The next thing I'm going to explain to you would be the highlight. Now, I mentioned before that the light is coming from the side. However, this highlight here is a little bit at the front. So why is that? I'm going to explain to you why. So at first we have here our ball again in a very simplistic way. And here is a light source, a point light source, and we have the viewer. Now, if we send light to this ball, then the brightest spot would be here at the top. However, the highlight is not this spot, but the light that is directly reflected from the ball's surface to the viewer. And as the viewer would move, also this spot would move, depending on the shape of the surface. Another thing I want to explain to you is how light travels when it hits the surface of a material. Now, we have this undefined material surface here, and I'm going to send a light ray onto it. Now what happens? Well, one part will be reflected. Well, it's obvious. We probably know that already. So another part will transmit through the material, and the last part will get absorbed. This means the light is converted into heat. Some examples of highly reflective materials would be some metals, mirrors, or things like that. Materials that absorb most of the light are very dark. The absence of light is dark, is black after all. This is also the reason why very dark surfaces get hotter when exposed to light than lighter materials like white surfaces. They reflect most of the light. Examples of materials where most of the light transmits would be, for example, glass or water. Gases are also examples. Now that we have this basic knowledge, we can go on to the next one, and I want to talk about scattering. Now, normally the surface of a material is not perfect. It's not perfectly even, but most of the time it has some irregularities, and it would look about like this. And now we're going to send in some light. Now again I use my parallel light, and we are going to look at how it's getting reflected from the surface. So in this case, not all of the light rays would get reflected in the exactly same angle as they were incoming, but would scatter in a very chaotic way. Now, most of the light rays would still get reflected in the same angle as they were incoming, and we get some distribution. And this knowledge is very important because if we look closely to this ball now, if you see this shadow area, then you can see at here that it's a little bit brighter than the core shadow. That is because some of the light that hit the ground has been scattered, and we take a closer look at it. Now we have this ball again in a very simplistic way, and the shadow is like here, and the light is coming from this side. Now if we look at one of the light rays that goes behind the ball to the ground, now most of the light would get reflected in the same angle as it were incoming. However, also a lot of light gets scattered. Most of the scattered light still follows about the same direction as this angle here, but some of it also gets reflected into this direction and would hit the shadow of the ball. And this is the reason why you have some brighter spots here. You have to consider on what kind of surface your object is standing, or what kind of other objects are close by, and the reflectivity of it. If you would have a black ground which absorbs most of the light, then you would not have these bright spots, because the light would not get reflected. Okay, so we've been talking about perfectly white light and a white ball and a white ground. However, what happens if the ground is colored and the white light is hitting this ground? Now, for example, here we have this kind of orange ground, and as the white light is hitting the orange ground, only the orange part of the white light, and white light is all of the colors of the oil, only the orange light would get reflected and everything else gets absorbed. And therefore we have orange light hitting the shadow area of the ball, and therefore we get this color onto it. So keep that in mind. But you can also kind of cheat. If there is not supposed to be any reflected light, you can still add some and give it a little bit more three-dimensionality, a little bit more color, and it looks better like this. And also the same about highlights. You can add some highlights where are no highlights supposed to be, but don't overdo it, of course. Do it in a way that it still looks good, but not too unnatural. You don't have to draw hyper realistically and consider all the reflectivities and the shapes and absorption and textures and whatnot. This is too much. Just follow some basic rules, and mostly you can draw and play around however you want. Alright, thank you for watching. As always, if you have any questions, feedback or requests for me, then please let me know in the comment section. Alright then, have fun drawing.